Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have 30 seconds of silence. Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started with citizens communication. I see we have Steve here, and I believe is the only one that's filled out. Here you go, Mr. Overcasher.
Good evening once again. My name is Steve Overcasher. With my wife Lynn, we live at 16520 Jadestone. I come before you this evening again to reaffirm my interest in the fencing that surrounds the community. I want to thank you for the progress you're making, but I still have some concerns. In your approved budget, line item 16613 is for fence maintenance, and it shows a target expense of $100,000 for the year. You've contracted with Sagamore Fencing LLC and to date have spent somewhere between $27,000 and $36,000 replacing several sections along Creek Run Drive. I can't figure out if it's 26 or 27. I look at the bills and it's one, and then you look at other things, it's something else. In the expense report that is in your monthly board packet on page 9, line item 1613 shows that against a budget allocation of $16,700 for October and November, you've spent $36,000. The over-under on the report shows this is a $19.5 thousand positive, when it is in fact a $19.5 thousand negative. As thrilled as I am to see the progress being made on the fencing, my concern is that since your spending already exceeds the budgeted amount, the work may not be completed. For that reason, I'll be submitting a Texas Information Act information request form requesting the RFP and bidding for the project so that I get a sense of what the total bids were and what the total amount that's being allocated. Furthermore, I'd like to encourage the board to send a note out to all residents whose properties include the perimeter fencing for which the MUD is responsible, detailing all plans, current and future, for the completion of the fencing repair and replacement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and go into, okay, number 2, Director Young, consultants arrival time and remote participation.
Yeah, we had discussed this not too long ago, maybe a year ago, I guess it was, but now that we've got Taylor being able to phone in, I'd like to do a couple items. Contractors won't be due here until 7 p.m., saving them some time because we tend to have our firsties and different things like that happening, and I would like us to maybe decide. I think we do want Sheriff's Department here, but maybe we don't need the pool people here, you know, from 6:30 until they get to speak at like 8:30. I'm just wanting to be a little bit more respectful of contractors' time. I'm wondering if we could do like a blanket, no contractors are due here other than attorney, GM. We can do our business and then we can start handling the contractor's business moving forward. And I also think this may save some money from the contractors that do charge us for how long they're here. What's with the Sheriff's Department? Are they not here?
They're not well. They will not be here tonight.
Doug
Okay.
Lobato's family's ill, so he'll not be here.
Okay. And then I think we should maybe on a contractor by contractor, but for the most part, I think that when Mark comes in, 7 o'clock, Trip can come in, 7 o'clock, and they won't be tardy. Then we can take care of that. I'd like to go ahead and implement that, and then until the next meeting, maybe we can get them the dial-in number for the Zoom and such like that. And then anytime that we do want them to be here, we want them in person, perhaps the financial people, of course, we'll give them a heads up, like, we definitely would like you to be in attendance.
Okay,
Can we motion to,
There's no action, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't show action on the agenda.
Mm-mm.
Well, it doesn't matter, you can still do it, just.
Can I-
Yeah, we can't just move
Yeah.
plan.
I'd like to make some comments. I don't agree that that's that efficient. I think that we don't take that much time, and I think the value is having people in person. I think the more you start doing remote, you don't get an opportunity to engage with them. I think we need some physical presence with them. And I think it's part of their job, and I don't think there's any complaints that I've ever heard. I've done this for many years. I don't think it's gonna make it more efficient. I think it's gonna make it more frustrating. Because you can't just ask the questions. You've got them on screen, and you gotta decide if the TV's gonna connect with the computer. So it's a lot more issue than that. So, you know, I agree to disagree with you that it's not an efficient use
So-
of our time.
Okay,
And
let's go around.
respectfully, I think there was 2 points, like, let's have a start time of 7 PM for contractors, and then there's also deciding who can come in via remote and who can, who needs to be here every
Director
time, so.
Schumacher?
So I guess, I don't know if I agree with the late coming for the contractors, but I know we talked a bit earlier on and we made some progress on changing how things on agenda run. I still like the idea of having folks that have outside reports, like we have, like, we're good about having the OA up at the front and the folks associated with the OA up at the front in the neighborhood. We're good about having the deputies up at the front. But in the case of, like, you know, I mean, I don't know if David Gray charges by the hour for coming over in the evenings. I think Taylor's folks do. But perhaps we could just pull their reports to the front of the agenda, like before Lisa's report, before PR communications or restrictive covenants, because at the end of the, I'm just looking, we have finance audit, we have services at the back, maybe we should just put those to the front of the agenda. You know, I mean, consent items could go after those, honestly, in my opinion, unless there's some legal issue with it, but I'm like, I guess that's kind of my thought is I don't, you may want some of the folks, if they're charging us hourly, if it saves on the rate, we're not paying for travel, to have them if you're remotely, but I still think for the folks, like, I think David Gray is gonna probably come a lot in person. The deputies, who's they're here, are gonna come by probably, to just simply pull their stuff to the very front of the agenda for those discussions, period. So we can just have them in the discussions about those policies at the front versus, I mean, this is not offense to you, Lisa, if you're stuck here with us till the end. I don't mind pushing Lisa's stuff behind folks
I
that,
don't either.
you know, where the deputies can get back out on patrol, where David Gray can get back on the road back home versus having his stuff always at the end of the agenda.
Yeah, that's a good point, okay.
Yeah, and I think.
Wait, let's go around the room.
Well, I'm just gonna make one quick comment. So I think we've done this in the past, we've reorganized everything, and I think the agenda certainly could reflect that, and I agree with that.
Okay, it's now my turn. I'm not quite sure about the contractors coming at 7 o'clock because we're just about done and we're gonna go into contractors right now, and it's 20 minutes, you know, to 7. I do think that we should give the consultants the option. We've already talked to David Gray, and David Gray said that he would prefer to come
Okay.
in person, which is fine, that's his, you know, preference. But if Tripp would like to dial in, or someone else, I think that we should be able to give him the option. I get that that's how it's always been done, was the other way, but, you know, with progress and technology, things are different now, so, again, I don't know if there's really a decision to be made, but we could reach out to the contractors, let them know that they have this option, and see, kind of go from there. Robert, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to let them have the option, and if we move contractors up to the front of the meeting, that's fine as well. I don't know that, I mean, I understand that Crossroads and A&B are on the clock, and we expect them to be here for the entire meeting, but Security Patrol, they're on the clock. I don't know who else is or who else isn't, but my thoughts are, people that are on the clock, let's knock them out first. And then if they're not on the clock, start them at 7.
Okay. All right, Director Roberts.
Yeah, so I guess what I wanna know is exactly what is the goal? I mean, besides, have you calculated the cost?
The cost or the
Cost.
savings?
The cost, and saving, same thing.
Okay, so we're being charged by the hour by
No, but
some
have you
people.
calculated it?
It's over $100 a meeting.
$100 we're talking about. Okay, that's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay.
We could
Director
probably
Shoemaker.
have that quantified. I mean, because I would assume, I mean, if I'm wrong, but I would assume David's charging us for his travel time, that he's not traveling up here back and forth for free.
Well, I
I
think
mean, we
that's.
can quantify it, I mean,
But I guess the
so,
value point is this, is it really something that's that big of an issue, where if we're talking $100 a meeting, it's not a big deal?
Okay, it's my turn, and this is the last time we'll go around. Again, I think it's with technology and being more efficient, it may not absolutely just be a number that we're trying to save. So, we have this technology now, we can give our consultants the option. And like we said, during budget, then Taylor will come in here, you know, because she'll need to be here. We already have helped the deputies, they were staying here for the entire meeting, and that we realized that that was not a good use of their time. So now they just stay and give their report and leave. So, okay, Director Young, anything else?
No, I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Director Roberts, anything else?
No, I just,
Okay, Director Shoemaker, anything else?
I guess, if we could just, I guess, find out next meeting, when we meeting in what the preferences of the contractors are, and then we can work on having a directive to Armburst and Brown about how to reorganize the agenda.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think that's a good idea. Lisa, we're gonna direct you to, reach out to each of the consultants and see what their preference is. You don't mind? Okay, moving on. Number 3, the audit. Welcome.
Thank you.
hi, Ashley.
Thanks to Taylor and her group, we are actually, a month earlier than we usually are presenting the audit this year. We were able to get the information and get through it really efficiently, and so, in front of you is the draft audit report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023. The reason it's in draft form is because we're still waiting on some information from Travis County for the 2023, Williamson County, for the 2023 other supplementary, tax information that we put in the very back of the report. So, substantially, the information in the audit report won't change, and as soon as we get that information from Williamson County, we'll get that updated in the back of the report. But if you will, turn with me a couple pages in on the report to the page that is on letterhead. And at the top of this page is the audit opinion, and again, this year, the district received an unmodified opinion, which is also known as a clean opinion and the best opinion that you can get. Then following that, on pages 5 through 9 is the management's discussion and analysis, which provides a really good high-level overview of the financial activities of the district for the year ended September 30th, 2023. But rather than go through the MD&A as it's called, what we can do is skip to the financials themselves, and as we walk through the financial statements, we'll essentially talk through what's in the MD&A. So those financials begin on page 10. So page 10 and 11 is the top portion of the district's balance sheet as of September 30th. And if you look in the general fund, the left-hand column of numbers, going down that fund, you can see that as of the end of the year, the general fund had total assets of approximately $6.2 million. About 91% of that is made up of cash and highly liquid cash equivalent investments. The debt service fund had total assets as of the end of the year of just shy of $600,000, all of those being used to fund the outstanding bond issuance, principal and interest payments due on the bonds. So in total, assets for the district as of September 30th totaled $6.76 million. This adjustments column here, known as GASB 34 adjustments, takes your fund financial statements, puts it into a more for-profit view. So for your purposes, what we're doing is we're putting onto the top of the balance sheet about $12.3 million of capital assets that have been purchased over the years by the district. We're also putting on their about $89,000 of refunding bond-related assets that are slowly being amortized down over the life of the bonds. And once you do that, you come down to a total assets for your government-wide statements, that very right-hand column, of about $19.2 million. Pages 12 and 13, this is the bottom portion of your balance sheet. So really the liabilities, and again, starting in the left-hand column with your general fund, you can see the general fund had outstanding liabilities as of September 30th of about $873,000, some deferred inflows of resources of about $37,000, which just represents uncollected property taxes as of the end of the year, which brings us down to total fund balance in your general fund at September 30th at $5,253,837. And moving across the page there, you can see your debt service fund had an ending fund balance of about $575,000. So total fund balance for both of your governmental funds is that $5.828 million. And again, once we factor in these GASB 34 adjustments, bringing this to a more for-profit view, and in other words, that means we're putting onto the liability side of the balance sheet about $5.7 million of bond-related liabilities. You come down to a total net position as of the end of the year of that $12.6 million. Pages 15 and 16 is the statement of activities, also can be thought of as your income statement for the year. Again, starting in the left-hand column with your general fund, you can see this year the district brought in revenues of just shy of $6.1 million, offset expenditures of $6.2 million against that. You have a year-over-year decrease in general fund balance there, that $148,508. Your debt service fund had a slight decrease in fund balance of about $6,800. So in total, governmental fund balance decreased this year by approximately $155,000. But again, once we factor in these GASB 34 adjustments, taking that to a more for-profit view, you actually have a year-over-year increase in your net position balance of approximately $687,000. And then following that are the notes to the financial statements, which just give a little bit more detail and definition to the financials themselves. The first few pages, actually through page 23, discusses the various accounting policies of the district. There's detailed discussion of the district's outstanding long-term debt on pages 23 and 24, which really culminates in the chart towards the top of page 24. Where you can see that at September 30th, total bond principal outstanding was that $5,315,000, of which next year you've got about $1.4 million of principal and interest payments on those bonds coming due. There's detailed discussion on pages 25 and 26 of the district's cash and investment balances. Here the takeaways are that your cash was fully covered by either FDIC insurance or pledge collateral, which is a requirement of the Public Funds Investment Act, and your investments, which are made up of tax pool and certificates of deposit, are in compliance with both your investment policy as well as the Public Funds Investment Act. And of the investments, about 88% of that is made up of tax pool, which as of today was earning about 5.37% interest. So pretty healthy relative to, more recent years past. There's a little bit of a detailed breakdown of your capital assets on page 27. And looking at the purchases this year, I think the bigger purchases had to do, some items for the water wastewater system, and then some artificial turf, I believe, around the pools. Top of page 28, there's some discussion of the maintenance and contract tax. We'll talk more about this on pages 39 and 40 coming up. Also have detailed discussion of the water supply agreement with Cedar Park, as well as your wastewater service agreement. But I'm actually going to skip to page 31, which is the budget to actual for your general fund. Here, the takeaway, the very bottom right-hand number, is that you finished the year ahead of budget by almost by over $640,000, and that's really due to cost savings across the board, I think. And then following that are schedules that are required by the TCQ. Page 34 provides some insight into your water wastewater connections, also some insight into the efficiency of your water system. You can see that the water accountability ratio, meaning the actual amount of water billed to customer versus what you purchased, is almost 90%, which I think for a system of your age is really pretty good, and it certainly exceeds what would raise a red flag over there at TCEQ as well. And then pages 39 and 40 provides a,
Ashley,
yes,
what would raise a flag?
generally 75% is what we hear, that if they see something like that, they're gonna wonder what's going on out there. You guys have never, the past couple of years, y'all have always been right around that 90-ish% efficiency ratio, so you never had that issue.
Thank you.
But on page 40 is a good summary overview of your taxes levied and receivable for the year. So if you look in the 2022 column heading, which is 2022 tax year, equates to the 2023 fiscal year we're discussing, you can see that based on a property valuation in the district there of about $677 million, which is up by about 23% over last year, you levied a total tax rate of about exactly 65.95 cents, which resulted in a tax levy of just shy of $4.5 million, and you had collected 99.57% of that as of the end of the year. And then there's a good summary overview of the outstanding debt of the district on pages 44 and 45, where you can see you started the year with $6,550,000 of bonds outstanding. This year you paid down principal on those bonds of $1,235,000. Also paid additional interest payments on those bonds of just shy of $230,000. So again, as of the end of the year, you've got that $5.315 million of bonds outstanding that we already discussed on page 24. And then below that, you can also see the remaining bonding capacity of the district. Not that you have to issue those bonds, but there is capacity out there if necessary. Obviously, there are certain protocols that have to be met to use that. And then finally, pages 46 and 47, just like to point this out, it's a 5-year look back of your general fund financials. I think if anything, it's good to look at revenues, make sure that, the percentages with regards to service revenue versus property tax revenue isn't getting out of whack, and, I think it could be a good tool to use, come budget time as well. And then in addition to the audit report, I think there are 2 letters at the back that I put in the back of the report. Both are standard letters that you've seen every year. One is to let you know that that we as the auditor prepared this audit report, and the other is more of an audit summary letter, and the takeaways from that summary letter that there were no issues encountered performing the audit, and no disagreements with management during the course of the audit. So again, overall a clean audit process and an efficient audit process this year, and a clean audit opinion, which is what you're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Do we post this when it's final? Do we post it on our website? Would there be any reason not to? Actually, I think there's some really good information for residents, especially that summary.
Yeah, you're down, usually in that table, in the footnotes, we have the first 5 years, and then it goes in 5-year iterations, and you've got no more 5-year iterations. You've got four years of payments left, so.
Right, which is also to be considered, because we need to do something about that. But I think that would be a really good page to have alone, I guess, on the website, but also when this is finalized, to post on the website.
So when does it actually get finalized, after tonight?
Well, it'll get, as soon as we can get, so the last 2 pages, you'll see we have information for the 2023 tax year. And we're just waiting on getting that information from Williamson County. They usually have it posted by now, but for some reason it's not out there.
Is it it's the Texas, the appraisal district?
It's,
or-
yeah, it's the appraisal district, and it not only has sort of a breakdown of the certified role, but it also has the top 10
Do you
taxpayers.
think that has something to do with the new homeowners? The home, estate exemption?
I can't speak to it,
I,
honestly.
I would doubt it looking at these numbers. I mean, none of these value numbers, these folks on the tax roll anywhere close. I doubt we have any homes in district worth $862,000. Just saying, like,
There
these
was
all,
one that sold for 700 in here.
yeah, but these are all low.
Yeah.
But, so you all get this from the tax office, from the assessor collector, Mr. Gaddis, or you get
Yeah.
it from CAD with Alvin Langford?
CAD.
Okay.
Appraisal.
Okay, are there any other questions for Ashley from the board? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, this is very informative.
Thank you.
So can, the next one will be given to Mr. Overcut?
I got it online, thank you.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. All right.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Happy
Have a good
holidays.
night.
Thank you very much. All right, bye, Ashley. Merry
Okay, let's keep
Christmas.
moving forward. Do I have a,
So we do need a motion to approve subject to receipt of final information for the file.
oh, we do want to do that before we have the
Motion.
final? Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 15th meeting?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Martin. The OA.
I feel like Sue Ellen on Lou Grant gives all this serious news and then.
I guess I'm old enough to really laugh though.
Oh, well, our last event is this weekend and it's the decorating contest for the lights. We have a lot more, nominations than we've had in the past. So it may be Sunday before those get put up, but that's our last event and then our next one will be in March. So
Okay.
we've got a break coming along,
Great,
so that's all I have.
all right, happy holidays. Okay, we don't have anything from the sheriff's department. Yeah, there is an ongoing investigation, hopefully we'll have an update on that shortly. Okay. Gate locking, number 7, Director Young.
Yeah, so met with Deputy Lovato and Chief David, his last name is,
Commander.
No, he's the chief,
He is
actually.
the chief, I thought he was the commander,
he's the chief commander, I think.
You're both right.
One of the first points that the chief brought up was that they're not to be enforcing park rules, different things like that. They're to be looking for crimes and such. Although deputies on duty are welcome to help us out with our locking our gates and stuff like that. That's not ever going to be one of their priorities. So one of the things I would like us to do is start looking into alternate plans than expecting the sheriff's department to do this. Another item that I discovered was that when there are no deputies on patrol at park closing time, that Deputy Lovato has to drive over here, do the locking, and he hasn't been charging us for these. If he does, I do expect us to pay him for at least the hour work that he would typically do, but I think we could also have a plan among either residents or directors where we could go by and do the locking of the gates. In the meantime, starting now, I'd like us to have it so that Deputy Lovato can send an email. I'm not gonna have somebody on patrol tonight when the park's closed. Lisa can then send us an email and then we cover it, but I'd like us to proceed in that manner until we have a neighborhood volunteer or some sort of a contract for getting the gates locked when they're supposed to be locked. Another item is the towing. Deputy Lovato had explained how when we have a car inside the parking lot, that he does not get to call the towing and as a sheriff's deputy, he needs to call them as just like a resident or such. So I would rather our security patrols not focus on getting cars towed. If they need to lock the gate and they can't lock the gate because somebody's towed, needs to get towed, I'd like us to start moving towards, the deputy sends an email over to Lisa. Lisa's gonna handle the towing between her and Amy. And then maybe a follow-up for us to go lock the gate when it does get towed or doesn't get towed. But we can't expect our security patrols to be chasing down and getting cars towed off of the property, especially with the crime wave that's been happening lately around here, so.
And didn't the chief actually really agree on that, the towing aspect? He thought that they shouldn't be
Yeah, so,
handling towing.
But are we dealing with it on a regular basis?
Just so you do it once.
So it's hardly ever done, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, it's.
I mean, I think the
rarely-
last one was here, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
when,
rarely done.
but it shouldn't happen, they shouldn't have to handle it all. So we're just gonna have a new policy where they'll reach out to Lisa and let her know.
So so just to be clear, so when they're on patrol, they realize, hey, this car finds me towed. If they make the call, they can't call in their capacities. Like, hey, I'm a sheriff's deputy, since they're working for us, they have to call and be like, I'm essentially working, got it.
And it really should be Lisa that's calling.
Well, and that doesn't help them with anything, they're just, yeah.
They
Right.
actually have been contacting me, they always have been, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I figured they were, but I just wanna make sure everybody's clear, like, that they're not, unlike in outside the neighborhood scenario, and outside, and it's another part of the county, if the sheriff's office says they're towing their capacities, like, I'm a sheriff working for the county, like, even though they're working for us and have legal law enforcement authority, they still can't just up and get cars towed.
Okay, all right, so I think the subcommittee will try to work on some sort of plan for the gates and bring that to the.
yeah, another point I want to share with everybody is the fact that they were attempting to schedule their patrols around dusk. Crime happens around the clock, and as residents learn, like, hey, they're always around at dusk, but they're never around at like 5 a.m. or they're rarely around at 5 a.m. Deputy Lovato indicated that by not trying to get somebody here at dusk every night, that'll allow them to patrol around the clock at different times. So it'll be a little bit more random, and those criminals are gonna have to be more on their toes.
And I thought in my past and my knowledge is that they do have different scheduled shifts. They do have some midnight shifts, so it's not like
They do.
they're not, but we just don't know their schedule because we don't want it out there in public. Okay, that makes sense.
Right, it has tended to gravitate towards park closing time.
It's always been like that, right? Yeah.
Right, but this will give them the flexibility to adjust. I think Deputy Lovato, for the most part, is early morning, like a 4 a.m. until noonish availability for that. Although it changes.
Okay, so we don't have any action items on this right now. So we're gonna continue on. Report from the general manager.
In the supplement packet, you can find my memo. I currently don't have any requests for facilities. I do have line item 8B, which is the Tomlinson Park Playscape, and in the supplemental packet, you actually will be able to find two proposals from Dig Dug. I reached out to them to see if we could get some information in regards to having the Playscape after the inspection from Meyer Inspection Services. It was found that the Playscape actually is unsafe and needs to come down. So I do have two proposals from Dig Dug, and I did have them break it up for a particular reason. One for demoing it, and it does give us the opportunity to actually during demo to allow for us to utilize some of the bridges and maybe take them out to Germano and utilize them at a different time. And then also have them consider hauling off, which would also give us an opportunity to go through that debris and, move the things that we need to. I've asked them to do it more of a time and material with an estimated at the beginning. You'll be able to see estimate 293SH, which is for the demo. They did estimate roughly 14 days. It might take them 10 days depending on weather, which would actually give us a lesser cost. But the total of it, if they did do full 14 days, it would be 24,500. And then again, like I said, they're gonna be working diligently to try and remove that sooner, so that way we actually wouldn't incur that in total cost. And then the same thing would be for the haul off. The haul off, you'll see an estimate of 294 SH, which is a quantity of 10 40-yard dumpsters. Again, just depending on how much debris we can fit into each one of the dumpsters, at a total cost of 14,500. If it takes less dumpsters, it's gonna cost lesser that amount.
Okay,
10
do I-
dumpsters times 40 feet for just the playscape?
40 yards.
It's bulky.
40,
Very low. So we're gonna try and use a sawzall and cut as much plastic as we can, cut it down as much as we can, but we're looking at more of efficiency on time. And if we can, like I said, take bigger pieces and put them in there, and like I said, get them out sooner, then that'll allow for us to be able to utilize more dumpster space, and we'll take up more dumpster space in less time.
so we're not gonna haul 10 dumpsters, put them there for 2 weeks,
Absolutely not.
and then
No.
haul off all the dumpsters. We're gonna send 1 or 2 at a time until,
Absolutely.
Maybe like
It's gonna be
roll-offs, are they
extremely
utilizing
controlled.
TDS or not?
We're not sure at the moment. Like I said, this is just gonna be their final pricing. I'm gonna utilize the contractor to coordinate everything. We'll make sure that we obviously convey this information to residents to make sure that it is a work zone. So that way, while it's being, done, everybody will be informed, but I'm gonna let them manage that in that regard.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve 293 SH, which is the 24/5
Up to,
for the breakdown?
I'll motion.
Wait,
Okay,
real quick,
second.
would you motion 93 and 94, or just 94?
Just 93 first.
Okay, okay.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Any more discussion?
yeah, I think I would like the motion to be modified up to, because she says they may not use the 14 days. So it could actually be less than.
Right. I mean, that's an assumption, but yeah, that language needs to be in there.
Yeah.
Sean, you can put that in there. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now do I have a motion for 294 SH 14/5, up to 14/5, because they mean it.
Motion.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay. all in
Just
favor?
a note real quick for we talking about Robert, if they can just throw it in big chunks, it's cheaper for them to haul a load in the dumpster than it is to spend an hour out there working, it looks like. About $300, so more dumpster loads might be better than more cutting down.
That's right.
Okay, great, so those are all approved. Great,
To be good on the second one.
pardon me?
We have not voted yet, but I think.
Oh, I thought we
I have a
did,
motion
all
and a
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
This is a high visibility issue, and I don't know what communication's gone out to residents so far. Maybe we can get a summary from Lisa, the meeting coming up, and who she's contacted and who we're looking at. Maybe we can get some information on the upcoming playscape and maybe just a vague timeline.
No, that will be under bond council. We'll have a special meeting for all of that. I won't be managing, installation of a new playscape.
So that's our meeting, we have a special meeting January 17th, and we'll discuss all that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But
We
to
have-
end, I think comms on just what's going on with tearing down and
Mhm.
the process, I think is a great.
Yeah, and she mentioned that she'll do that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really important. And let's put that on the e-sign as well, and on the
Yes.
website.
We will do that.
Okay, cool, all right.
Moving on, I know that you do have Director Logan some video storage information, but if I can, I would like to go ahead and table items 10, 11, and 12 and bring those back to the board at a January meeting.
Sure.
And then the last one that I had on here that I would like to discuss is actually a proposal again from Dig Dug. This is gonna be for the Walker House parking lot. You'll be able to see a picture in your packet. We've had some, quite a bit of puddling, especially during rain. We need to go ahead and cut that rock and give that some more drainage curves. So we're gonna have Dig Dug come in and actually go ahead and cut that drainage and give us that parking lot relief, if you will, so residents are not walking through a huge puddle of water. So I'm looking at approval today for the total
Motion.
amount of $4,200, estimate 283 SH.
Second.
Okay, so that's actually why we put the rock in, to help with that, so.
But I think it's kind of built up
We
now.
need to cut
and it's
grade.
damming.
We need to cut more grade. It's
Yeah.
still it's
Okay.
below the rock grade, so we need to bring it up.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
also probably wear and tear on the asphalt too.
Okay, can I make a quick comment? You only appended 10 through 12. I do wanna say that, I think that Sagamore has done a very good job on the fence work, and I came up with Mr. Overcasher. You know, that I've seen, I live near that part, and so I see it regularly, I just wanna make a point on the record that Sagamore, I think, is doing a very good job. I also appreciate how they're trying to make it work around the trees,
Oh, yeah.
not just cutting out the fencing. I think it's definitely an improvement. So I just wanna put that on the record, we can talk about this in January further, but just want to get that out.
Yeah, no, I think we all agree with you. I like the way they're handling the trees, and it's probably the best fence we've ever had.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment on that in regards to our communication with residents. At the last board meeting, when you all approved the last three phases that we actually went through, immediately Blockhouse Mud actually went out and we hung door tags, gave residents all of the data and information of Sagamore Fence's contact, so that way they would know exactly who they were gonna be speaking with. Sagamore Fence's person actually went out and actually met and discussed with every single resident face to face to let them know exactly how they were gonna manage the tear down, how long it would be, residents would be able to manage their animals and so forth. I have gotten nothing but great feedback, especially with the material usage. I had some residents explain that in the past, they've had some repairs done in previous board approvals, and they got smaller fencing panels and you could literally see straight through, and they are so pleased and very excited about the board approving these proposals.
Great.
So thank you
Good
for
job.
that.
So quick question, what are we, the removal and the replacement of the fence, how long is this project going to last? Just rough estimate?
It's really gonna depend on our finances. Like I said, we could probably take it through another fiscal year, but it's really just gonna depend on, like I said, our finances. And what I'm gonna do, bring back, next month is kind of bring back a different perspective, so that way you all can see how we intend on trying to manage a little bit more area. What we were doing was trying to bring in 500 linear feet at a time, so that we'd be able to manage 5 and 6 homes, so that way not so many residents would be disturbed. But because, like I said, we've been getting some feedback, we'd like to kind of give a little bit better of an overview of some bigger areas, so that way residents will have a little bit more of an understanding of what it would take in order to be able to get this done a little sooner. But it would cause a little bit of heartburn for some, because it will be more fencing down for a longer period of time. And so what we're trying to do is really consider residents, like I said, taking out these shorter areas, so that way we're taking down fencing in a day and trying to put it back up within the same day or the next day.
And then when do we start the staining process and the painting?
So we're actually gonna be looking at also bringing in some staining January, February. We have been contacting some contractors to be able to come in. This is a great time during the colder season. We would like to try and tackle that, like I said, between the January, February. We've got a lot on our list that we're gonna try and bring to the board. So we've got a lot of work we're gonna be doing in this next month.
Great.
I was gonna say, at least if you do come back, when you come back here, you can try to bring something back, because part of that talks about any prioritization of which parts of the fence are in worse shape relative. You can also have residents be able to see those that come to the meeting, watch online, look at the board book, be able to see kind of where we've got the prioritization of which parts of the fence are in the absolute worst shape, which parts are, I
Yeah,
mean, it all needs work, but it's relative, right? Not everybody's fence is equally bad.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, Thank you.
Good. Yeah, good job, Lisa. I think you're doing a fantastic job, as is Sagamore.
So let me ask a real quick question, Lisa. So is the asset, with BFE or BGE, is that actually updated, and will we be getting a copy of that within the next month?
So with BGE right now, what I can tell you is that they have the creation of the utility layers at 75% of the project. As far as the feature collection and data loading, they're right at 35%. And then with the actual files and publishing application, out of a 35% ratio, they have 15% of that done. So they actually have been boots on the ground within the district in these last couple of months, populating that information. Once they're able to get all of the remainder of the assets that include all of your water utility and all of the meters and things of that effect, then we'll go in and we'll start adding in this additional information.
Like
So
fencing,
we're gonna be at that point, so
so they're, seem to be extremely slow,
it's not slow.
35%?
This is extremely tedious. You're looking at GIS mapping from a perspective of not only going into Williamson AutoCAD, downloading all of this information, but bringing boots on the ground and making sure that all of this data is absolutely correct when you're looking at, like I said, the assets in themselves,
Okay,
so.
hey guys, this is not on the agenda, so
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
gonna stop this conversation and we can put on the agenda to discuss
Yeah,
next
please
month.
do. I'd like to have it.
And we, actually, we can just have it as a standing item
Yeah,
on yours.
absolutely.
Just give us an update,
Mhm.
because I think you gave us an update last month. Okay,
Yeah.
so video storage, the security subcommittee is gonna work with Lisa, on the storage, Robert has some concerns if it's going to the cloud or different things, so just let you guys know that, and then we'll come back to you. Alarm system for Walker House, we're gonna hold that, you are looking at proposals right now, and so, hopefully in January, we'll have something on the agenda.
So that's the table.
Yes, okay, and we did approve 13, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, hello, Director Johnson. Let's go ahead and go into PR communications. Anything on special events or newsletter?
Newsletter, we're actually trying to work on that. We'll be working with the PR and Communications Subcommittee more in that regard. We don't actually have a newsletter that is finalized for January as of yet. December's was published. It will go out on the 18th of December with the most pertinent information that we have. So we'll be working with PR and Communications moving forward.
I have some pictures from Cocoa Christmas I'll send you, in case you wanna utilize any of those.
Thank you.
Okay, transparency, I don't have anything on that. Resident survey, do you guys, do you have updates on the survey?
We're waiting on a contractor information, reach out, get them our questions.
Okay, can you send the questions, draft questions to the board?
Sure.
Okay, all right, we'll look for that. Okay, restricted covenants, do you have anything on, from Cam on 17?
No, we never meeting partly because Will was unavailable, so we decided to postpone. We want everybody on deck for that subcommittee meeting, so.
Okay, anything on 18?
What did you say, Dave?
I was just going to say that they sent an update, but there were no updates relevant for the board, the whole board.
Okay, great. Okay, so nothing on 18 or 19. Finance and audit, payment of bills and invoices. Do I have a motion to pay our bills?
Motion.
Move, second.
Any discussion? One thing I noticed is in the packet, it looks like some of the documents from Taylor were cut off. I don't know if that was from Taylor sending them over or if it was from Denise or whomever scanning it, but let's just double check that because you can't see some of the pages. Okay?
Is it just on the electronic?
They may, well, I don't know, because I don't look at the hard copy. So, yeah, it probably is
Okay.
electronic. And that's what residents can access, so I just want to make sure that it's clean.
Is she on the call?
No, we've not had her to the call.
Oh, she's not?
No.
Because,
I don't know if we really need her. Do you guys have any questions?
well, I thought she should be on to report, at least present a report.
Yeah, it's in the packet, but I mean, we definitely can call her if you want, Lisa.
Yeah,
Get her on the phone.
I mean, I don't really have any questions, but I just wondered why she wasn't on the call, so I thought that's the whole idea.
Well, our Wi-Fi is down.
Our Wi-Fi is down, that's why she's not on the
Oh,
app.
okay.
So that's why I didn't know if we really needed to get her on a cell phone, unless you guys have any questions.
that's
It's pretty straightforward. Bills and invoices, subcommittee met. We did discuss quite a few things, and we'll bring those back up next month.
Sean, did we vote on the motion?
No, not yet. No, okay, so all in favor?
So, well, before
Oh, sorry.
we do that, so there was some questions by Mr. Overcash about the budget on the fence. So that is one question I would like to ask her, is like, where are we on that?
So I actually did send an email to Taylor in that regard, and she will be putting together some information from Mr. Overcash, and we'll be presenting that to him next month to be able to answer those questions for him.
You don't have anything for us?
Not right now, I do not.
Okay, that's what I,
And that's not on the agenda anyways, so.
but it's a question on finance, so I could ask that.
No, you can, but, she shouldn't be prepared, Taylor shouldn't be prepared to.
Well, but
give
that's
that
why I
to-
like her on the call, she could look at it. And that's one of the reasons why I think if we could keep her alive, that would be nice,
Keep her alive.
on the call.
Put her on the call, please.
I mean, it's, her her
Okay,
whole
so
point.
can,
Yeah,
we'll
I'm just
vote after we talk to her.
yeah, thank you.
I think it is imperative to make a statement that, obviously, the budget's gonna reflect a different, amount considering that, what's being produced in the arrearages, she hasn't actually been able to put that into the information yet, but she'll be able to provide that information to you. We all know that these billings don't come in at the same time with this.
Right.
Sorry, there is no one.
So she's not actually on there.
And that's okay.
And I guess the question all revolves around here on 16613, the actual versus budget.
Mhm.
For October, November, which is 2 months of this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it shows the actual expenditure is 36,125. The budget is 16,667. And that the annual budget is 1,000. I mean, I guess. I guess the key number, I mean, since we're an entity that gets our money in, this is coming out of property tax dollars, not utility. Since we're an entity that gets our property tax dollars generally on by January 31st every year, right? So, you know, our monies for our budget come in at once, and we can then spend them over the course of the year. I guess in this particular case, this is an expenditure that's done episodically. It's not like a contractor expenditure that runs on a monthly basis, or we've got a set fixed costs. I guess, I'm not saying that the monthly number doesn't matter, but I don't think it's as essentially critical. I feel like the number you're working here is you're working with your annual, right? The annual number you've got for the whole fiscal year. We've got that money on the front end from our taxes. And the key number to track is the actual expenditures to date. Because you're monthly here, like, I guess since this isn't a salary, it's not some kind of fixed payment. I don't see that it I think there's no bearing, but I think that it's in terms of like concern about where the money comes in, right? Because like some of these other expenditures you have to be front or back loaded. This one's probably more front loaded than most, right? We're trying to get the work, I mean, correctly, it's like we're trying to get the work done currently. So we're not necessarily trying to spread it out. So I mean, I guess, Director Roberts, what is the question we're going to ask Taylor?
Well, I just kind of want to know where we are, I mean, because the fact, I see it in here, but I don't know, the roundabout questions and conversation you were having, I mean, it is the budget. I mean, you know, the collection is completely different than what we budgeted. Obviously, I just want to know, because we had the question posed by a resident, where were we on
May
this?
I also state that we are very well aware that last month and the previous month, we discussed with Taylor that we have $375,000 sitting in a tax pool account that we have not allocated anywhere, and we did discuss that we would be able to utilize that for the fencing. So as far as the budget is concerned and when that money is coming in, that money is already sitting in a tax pool account. So there is no deficit in the budget right now as it is.
Well, one thing I'm kind of wondering here, this is a question we can ask Taylor later, I think we wait till next meeting, it's not, I have a suspicion, you know, not having pulled my phone out and done the math here, but 16,667 looks like she took the 100,000 divided, allocated across all 12 months roughly.
Yeah, it's exactly,
That's.
And so I mean, I guess the point is that, you know, I don't know if the monthly budget allocation on this particular line item, since there's not a fixed monthly cost, is more than essentially kind of a rough estimate of.
exactly.
So I mean, I think it's important to discuss. I think people need to understand what's going on here, right? Because some of these items are obviously going to be, you know, utilities for the pool, or utilities for the park, you have a lot better handle on. Those are fixed monthly costs. If the monthly cost does not match what we're roughly budgeting monthly, there's probably a problem. But, you know, whether it's fence maintenance or Walker House maintenance, right, if they're budgeted for, let's see here, $8,333 a month on the Walker House, right? You know, which is again the kind of division of the 50,000, right, across 12 months. But you know, our actual so far for the year is like 9,000. So we're well over under our monthly budget, right? We've had 2 months, just about almost 17,000. So I mean, I think that it's good to discuss this. I think for everybody's Mr. Cashew, still here, good knowledge, because I think that, you know, I would say most businesses, most individuals don't have a lot of, how do I call it, non-fixed expenses, right, that show up in a budget like this, right? You know, you got a house payment, you know what your groceries are gonna be, you know what your gas is
You
gonna
don't know
be.
what your repairs are gonna be.
Yeah, but my point, the thing is like, so, you know, you might say, so I think that we can talk to her about how she allocates this, but
But
I think that
also,
that is where we are, right? That
yeah,
this is in a sense kind of a thing that fills a pro forma identity on the budget, but it's not a controlling number necessarily. I mean, the controlling number is the annual budget, and if this month, if the actuals are more bumping close to the annual budget, I think is where you'd have the concern about, you know,
but I think also too, that
exceeding.
if we do have that tax pool account, let's put something on the agenda to actually transfer that into that line item, maybe do a budget amendment. I mean, Sean, what do you think?
Maybe she was waiting for us to finish out with the line item that we were on currently.
But why would we wait when we know we have a big project?
Because I don't think we've decided that we're gonna use all of it on the fence. I think that we just discovered that money a couple months ago, and I think, Sean, you had some discussions with her
Yeah,
since the last meeting.
and I actually went back, if you don't mind,
Please.
so I went back, you guys directed me to go back into the minutes from, I think it was 2016 or 2017. And there was, the minutes were fairly limited at the time, but it did seem to give credence to the fact that that was specifically to be utilized for that purpose when it was dedicated into that fund.
And it can be used, we have authorization to use it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And to be sure, I'll also state that that was, the board at that time made that statement at that time, and the board at this time can make the decision on how it's to be spent today. With that said, you know, amending the budget could be a thing. In my experience, sometimes y'all have considered not doing that, because if you know why you're over or under budget, there's not necessarily a reason to amend the budget. But if you want to increase your allocation here, I think you'd have to touch it in two places, right? Because you want your budget to balance, so you'd want to increase your line item here for whatever you want to do there, and then you'd have to, on the income side as well, adjust for that.
So is that 375 showing up in the budget at all? I mean, where is that in our,
I don't
it's
think
just
it's
in the
allocated.
finances, it's just in the finances?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
well, it's in a reserve.
But it's in our financial report, which I don't recall seeing it, so just.
Which is, I think that's why we didn't see it when we did the budget
Yeah.
meetings, is because it wasn't in there.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a fail then, because we should have known this. We should have known this a long time ago.
Well, not necessarily, I mean,
But we should have known we had reserves in text pool that we could have been using.
updates you all.
I mean, I think it's in,
I never thought
I
of
think
that.
it's in the financials, but the thing is, I think that for funds that are not driven by revenues or surpluses from prior years from water, our fees we charge, or our property taxes, it probably should show up in our assets, but not properly in our budgeting authority unless we ask to have it moved there.
And that's why I'm suggesting that, why do we not see it?
But I think it was in our assets, we were working with when our budget was prepared, the Taylor and them did not prepare a budget that accessed all assets available to the district that were not part of the current revenue stream. Because we have to match our revenue streams to our
Right.
budget.
Let Sean.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I don't have something to point you to here, but I don't know that it was noted anywhere within your bookkeeper's report, you know, that it was allocated specifically for the purpose. And David can relate to, once you dedicate something to reserves, oftentimes you don't necessarily look to cover from your reserves unless you absolutely need to. So, to be sure, this was before my time, and I can't point you to a spot in this report that specifically breaks out how you have all your reserves allocated or whether it was commingled with other reserves specifically. So I don't want to, and I don't know if, it seemed to be Taylor's memory that it was allocated for a specific purpose, and I don't know if she came across some documentation or just recalled, or if there was something else that sparked a memory, so I'm not sure.
Okay. It's a good conversation. I think it's worthwhile bringing back up, and that's another reason why I think it's important to have a bookkeeper on the call.
And can I ask you a question? I don't want to belabor this. I think it's a point I want to work out real quick here is, you know, we don't have a constitution like the state or a charter like a city, right? Where they set up how funds are dedicated and allocated in a way that future councils and future legislatures cannot change, right? We're an entity that is governed by law, and the general statute, I guess what I want to get is that dedications of funds beyond the existing current budget that's adopted, right? So this will be changed by us at any time. It can't really be done at our level because we lack the tools legally we're not like the state, where the state can create a rainy day fund
Right.
or a highway trust fund, or like the federal government, like, we lack the tools to treat it that way, so that's another reason they don't show us in our budget. Unlike companies that have the tool to create a dedicated fund that cannot be changed by future entities without essentially voter approval.
In a different way, yeah.
Yeah, we can, but
Caveat being that you do sinking funds for debt service, but outside of that, you're
Yes.
exactly right. Like, even if the board in 16 said, hey, maybe, these guys wanna use this, and I don't, to be sure, in the minutes, it's not described as the fence project. I think it was kind of more ambiguously described as road improvements or something like that.
But we have financial policy though, but it's not about anything that's excess or reserves, is that what you're saying? Or how to utilize those funds?
I don't know what you mean by financial
I thought we
policy.
had something that we had to have with the compliance with the water code.
Oh, yeah, what David is saying, in other forms of government, the state of Texas can say, we're creating this fund and it's gonna be for this purpose, and these funds are gonna be dedicated, and no one can come back and undo that, unless you like go to people for a vote. And so, and my point here is just to say, the board in 2016 might have said, hey, this might be a good idea to use this for purpose X, and the board today can say, well, we see the rationale for that, but we want to use it for purpose X and purpose Y.
Okay.
So maybe an item on a future agenda to see how much we want to put towards defense or some other. There's lots of expenses coming, of course, so
Yes,
being thoughtful about that.
yeah, 100%, 50%, 75%, we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, that's kind of.
So we haven't done this since the community survey, resident survey, workshop that we did. But I remember being, before joining the board, having comments or questions that I would like to have addressed as a resident, but can't interrupt the meeting. So if it's everybody's agreement, maybe we could offer an additional minute to Resident Overcasher, Mr. Casher, to take the podium for a moment, make some comments.
Or maybe it's perhaps answer some of his questions, I mean, or if he has additional
Would you step
questions.
up to the podium if you?
Sure.
Is that okay, Rick?
With the permission of the president?
Yeah, absolutely, I was just gonna say, it may be more worth your time to do it when Taylor's here, because we don't have her on the phone right now, but you're absolutely welcome to.
Let me just ask a couple questions,
Sure.
because I was trying to follow. It sounds like there's a bucket of money that's out there, and it's the amount of about $300,000?
370, yeah.
Okay. That would be wonderful if that was made available, because like I said, my concern as I came in this evening was, you have a budget of $100,000 for the fence maintenance, of which you've already spent $36,000 in 2 months. And I think maybe 25% of the total fence line has been addressed.
Yeah.
And I mapped it out, and it was like 3 miles of fence. And at 500 feet at a time, you're not gonna get there at the current spend rate. So I just don't want it to be where we tried our best, we ran out of money.
Yeah.
When, if we don't fix the whole fence, then it's the safety, security, and the appearance, because it's the calling card for the neighborhood. You pull in, the first thing you see is fence. And that is what you folks are in charge of, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely, and if you, careful, if you can make it back in January.
I will.
We will have Taylor here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Charlie.
do recall being at the right-of-way meeting that was held down in the Arboretum. And I believe that since the previous board, since that meeting, there was no money, the money was going into a fund for the right-of-way with the concrete or barrier or whatever it was, but I believe that's where that money came from. And so that was directed towards right-of-way fence, and I think that's where it's coming back into play.
Okay, all right,
Just real quick, can you confirm when the meeting in January is gonna be?
it'll be the fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday?
Yes,
Okay,
I don't know the date off the top of
Okay,
my
that's
head.
fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so do I, we had first and a second, and motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to 22, report from Premier. Hello.
Hey, Mark.
Good evening.
Thank you, and sorry for missing last month, I had another conflict with another board meeting. Pool's running great, we've got Apache open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 5 to 9, and then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, noon to 5. In the report, you'll see the chemical checks, and when you see the patron logs, that's at that moment. So you're not seeing the total number for the night or anything, you're seeing what's actually there when they're doing the chemical check and reporting that. So it's not, there's nobody there all night long, there's some of them 0 for, we're averaging about 8 to 10 people a night normally. And then on the weekends, it's hit or miss.
8 or 9 people a night?
Correct. The swim team's utilizing it, there was another high chemical high chlorine around the 15th and 16th. We did get that situated, under control real quick and got that, fixed for the swim team, and then we're able to continue. The one thing, Apache right now is, I mentioned at the beginning of the year, we pulled out the tarps, that they were in bad shape. One tarp has completely ripped about a third of the way down. It's hanging on by the wires, on the side of it. So I know we are looking into the possibility of asking to get that tarp replaced sooner rather than later. But I'm also gonna try to put some grommets in it and see if we can't patch that up for this season.
Okay, it was on our agenda last month, we had a couple of questions that Lisa was gonna research. So, Lisa, can you get back to us in January?
I do have those answers, I'll provide those to the subcommittee.
Okay,
Yes,
great,
ma'am.
thank you.
And then other than that, looking forward to meeting with the subcommittee in January and working on some programming for the summer and already starting a staffing plan and getting a bunch of stuff ready for summer.
That's
Start to
great.
prepare.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having some swim lessons and such, so that'll be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And your check's in there. First
Okay.
of all, I hate to do this, did we vote for the bills and
Yes, we
invoices?
did.
Yeah,
We did.
do we vote for any fund transfers?
You have the transfers
Okay,
as well.
no transfers?
There was
I
one
just wanted to
transfer I
make
saw listed in the report.
That's what I was looking for, okay, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to, priority.
Big
Trish.
check. Or something close to it.
How you doing?
Hey, so not a lot going on for us. We have been finishing up some of the work orders that you all approved last month, and partly last month and the month before. Tree installation, the boulders at the disc golf course, and the solid work is almost done.
These
So,
trees look good.
thank
They
you.
look very nice, and the redo over the big 100-year tour, looks really good.
Are the boulders out there now?
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
A few of them have been put out, so let me know if you guys can,
Yeah, go check it
at least
out.
know, let me know. So I'd like to make sure those are how you guys want them. And we'll be out there tomorrow, to work on that as well as clean up some of the stuff in this golf course. But
Yeah, I think you sent the list over, the trees are going, I appreciate that, that map, that was very helpful to understand what's going on,
yeah,
thank you.
no problem.
Okay, you don't have any proposals?
Don't have any proposals.
All right, well, thank you.
Christmas to us, huh?
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Trish.
Okay,
Merry
we don't really have
Christmas.
anything from the Amenities Subcommittee, so let's move on to, David Gray is not able to be here this evening, he had several other, engagements. His report is in the packet. The subcommittee, well, I guess the ad hoc subcommittee, Director Shoemaker, myself, and David are meeting next week to go over some stuff in Nebraska Furniture Mart. And we will report back to the board in January.
Yep, well, a good report, I think, for everybody then.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Ben, we're moving on to you, Crossroads Operations.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good. All right, tonight we have 3 write-offs that I'll need approval from you guys. There's 3 of them, and the total amount of $720.54.
Have a motion to approve.
Are you asking for a motion to approve?
I just made a motion.
Okay.
To
Do
approve.
I have a second?
Second.
I noticed one only had $100 deposit and they owed $400.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
about
probably, they've been here a long time, right?
okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
And then, earlier this month, we had a upset customer in the blockhouse. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say his address or not for confidentiality, got it. So anyways, he called in and he was upset about his water bill. We had a Crossroads meter reader that was new, that incorrectly read his meter, which is a tale as old as time. And it was incorrectly read, and the customer was upset, so I called the customer and informed what was going on. We adjusted his account, we changed out his meter, and we smoothed everything over, and we've had no issues since that phone call. So I would assume that that's squashed, and I think he's happy.
Is that the social media post that blasted Crossroads?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that was just a misunderstanding, but the phone call smoothed it over, so I think we're good.
But we did have about 10 misread this past month,
Yes, so we
right?
had-
So have
so-
you handled all those?
Yes,
Okay.
so just for some data too, we have 2,100 homes and we only had 10 misreads.
Okay.
So that's a really good number if you look at it, it's 99% accuracy. So unfortunately, when we get new meter readers at Crossroads, it's hard to really, tie up all the loose ends with them when they're new, they're on a learning curve. They understand how important it is to get the correct reads because it can lead to a unfavorable outcome of a large water bill. So we had a talk with this meter reader, he understood that, it was an honest mistake, yet it was costly, so.
Thank y'all for remedying it.
Yes, of course. And then, our water loss is at negative 10.98%, which is slightly up, but if you look at the overall volume of water, it's down. But I still don't think that's any cause for concern. Nothing with Shealy, I don't think we need to bring in Shealy at all still. I think we can see what it does next month. I know Trib, we had it, since we're a few days in the rear, we had that one leak in the park that may slightly be the reason, the culprit of this loss, but I don't think it's anything that cause for concern. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys today.
Okay, so in the, one of the emails that you shared with me, and I shared this with Director Johnson in the bills and invoices meeting, is that our meters, when they go past 1.5 million, they're, what's the term,
Under register.
under
Yeah,
registered,
under-registered.
and so they should be replaced. And to replace meters, it'll cost the MUD about $65 a meter to replace it. So I had Ben pull a report, and we have, maybe my numbers, is it like
Yeah.
12, can you give me those
Yeah,
numbers?
I have all that data for you.
And
Okay.
it's actually $85 a meter with the new contract that you signed with Crossroads.
Okay, yeah, because I was looking at the previous, okay, that's right, $85, okay.
Yeah, so we are currently triaging, I have, I need to go with Taylor, which of course, yeah. I have a list though of things that we are triaging from worst, or from highest usage to lowest usage. But did you want me to share?
What, was it 12? So we had a certain number that were at 3 million, so
Yes.
double their lifespan basically.
Yes,
And then we have, and then how many are at 2 million?
so in the 2 million, we have roughly, it's roughly 200 in the over 2 million category.
And there's 7 or 12 at 3 million, over 3 million?
Yeah, it was like 6 residential meters that are
Yeah.
over 3 million, and then we have about 15 between 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inch meters that are in the higher usage, 8, 9, 10 million usage.
Okay. So what's important for the directors to know is that when a meter is under red, it basically, you're under reading it. So that impacts our revenue. So we're actually not bringing in what we should be
They're
bringing in.
getting water and not getting charged for it.
Right, and we're paying for that water. So it's really important that we do stay on top of it. Now, I know the subcommittee, you all are looking at that contract and making some edits. I looked at the contract. We don't actually have a number of how many meters a year you will replace. And I think that's something we need to kind of quantify, because there's no reason we should have 6 meters over 3 million.
Yeah, we'll have Ben and Andrew in the next meeting with us,
Yeah.
because we asked
Oh,
for
good.
that, yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to get
Okay.
that set
So
up.
is the audit, does it happen once a year and then anything that's over 1.5 should be scheduled for replacement? Or does it get scheduled for replacement the day it goes over 1.5 million and then we're doing it around the year?
So ideally, what operations is looking for, Ben, if you don't
Yeah.
mind,
Absolutely.
ideally what we're looking for with Crossroads is during a budgeted season, when we start talking budget, is when we start pulling meter reads to see where our meters are currently at. And at that time, we discuss with our internal operations of how we want to tackle the most necessary meters that are obviously at a certain particular amount. In this case, we would go back to our meter readers and our operations department, pull this data probably roughly about June, July, and discuss how much money we have left in operations for that current year budget, how many meters we're able to knock out, if you will, and replace, and then what we were looking at for the new fiscal year of how many meters we'd like to go in and replace. And sometimes that roughly comes out to about 100 meters if we're doing things properly. So that gives us an estimate of every year we're changing out roughly about 100 meters that are a little bit over 1.5.
And we have to budget for that, so that's $85 a ton.
So that's about 5% of the neighborhood?
Something to that effect, and it really is, I mean, what you're seeing is a lot of your residents, well, you don't have a lot of residents that actually have irrigation, so what we're really looking at are the residents that have a high usage of irrigation, or residents that have pools, which we're gonna see them metering a lot more water. And so those are the ones that we normally will be kind of looking for, and we'll see that indicator with the amount of usage that they have in their current year budget, in their current year audit. So Ben will be able to pull that information from his biller. Ben and I would get together, and Taylor, and we would discuss from an operations perspective what the meters are looking like and how many he would suspect that he'd like to change out for Crossroads to keep our over under. And again, just to kind of give everybody an idea, when residents are calling in and they're complaining that they see they've been overbilled for too much water, a meter doesn't over register, a meter under registers when it's not working properly. That's not the case here with what we're seeing in Blockhouse. It's just a good uniform way for us to always make sure, us as Crossroads, to make sure that we're keeping the meters intact and always making sure that we're, obviously keeping the district's registers on task, if you will. So we work closely with the budget, with Ben to, like I said, make sure that we're budgeting an allocated amount every year for operations for him to be able to come in, change out enough meters to make sure that the registers are working properly.
So what do you project, or that's gonna need to change out for this budget year?
Well, before we do any of that, I'm going to, we're gonna test 10 meters. So out of our list, our highest triage list of usage, I'm gonna take 10 of those residential meters and one of our commercial meters. And we're gonna take those and get them tested from fluid meter, because before we start jumping in all the way, let's just test a small sample size and see what's going on and see if it's trending the way we are speculating. Because right now, all we're doing is just speculating with the under registering. So I'm gonna pull that, and I should have those updates for you by next meeting, hopefully.
Wonderful.
It just, sometimes a fluid meter, just the turnaround time is sometimes a long time. Gary Faber is very busy over there, so.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's a good starting point. Let's get the data from 10 meters residential and one irrigation, or 1.5 inch, and then I'll have more stats to produce to the board.
So,
This is the kind of reason why they have them in the meeting, right? Because some of the things we talk about is the contract relate to things like this, right? We're gonna talk about how processes work, and we wanted to specify things or things that they felt like that they would be helpful to specify in, right? And that's when make sure they were included in the conversation. I mean, Director Roberts, I can talk with us all we want, but having the folks from Crossroads in the room to discuss the details of how this is gonna work is
And
very
even
helpful.
another thing to bring up, the resident that was quite perturbed about his meter reads, that he actually came from Georgetown, and Georgetown, they're on electronic meters, which is something we're definitely not ready to move to at this point
We've
with our
looked at
budget. But, he's still getting a good accurate read. Again, you're looking at less than a 10% inaccuracy rate. Ben would have been able to catch it a lot sooner, but he's 45 days in arrears. So to be able to, like I said, only have a couple of residents, needle in a haystack, you've got 2,200 meters. Crossroads is doing an excellent job in meter reading.
Okay.
So we're about to crunch some data, and I've got a question, because as it goes over 1.5 million is when we need to replace it. I'm curious, we have people with pools that use more water, people with irrigation systems. Is there any data that you could, when you're crunching the numbers, like, hey, 10% of your homes have either irrigation or, they're heavy water users? Can we get that information? Because as that number goes up, let's say 90, that means we're going to be replacing these on a more frequent basis, as opposed to like maybe only 10% are doing this. So we're gonna have a lot less need for replacing these.
So your larger meters have a much higher lifespan. So your 1 inch, your 1.5 inch, or 2 inch meters, which would be your pool meter, the park meter, the bathroom meter, those are larger, so you can push them to 10 million plus.
Okay, but
usage.
for residents with pools or irrigation systems?
It would still be your 5/8 meter. So if your resident has a pool in the backyard or an irrigation system, it still comes out of that small 5/8 meter that's at the street.
Okay, and can you tell, according to their usage patterns,
varies.
if they're likely to have a irrigation system or a pool or not?
And it's not really, you would have to look at their usage, and then you'd have to.
Depends on pool fill time.
Yeah, it depends on if are they watering every day in the summer at 4 a.m. or are they filling up, draining the pool and cleaning it and then refilling the pool? There's really no way to
Okay.
determine.
It's rare.
So-
You don't see that
so-
a lot.
When crunching the numbers, I'm gonna ask for this. Estimate how many millions we're going through, take the number of houses that we've got, 2,200 houses, divide by that, and then we should be able to get an estimate on how often these are going to be getting replaced at $85.
Well, I think it also depends on the age.
Yeah.
If the age of the meter, like Cecilia's meter may be registering, 3 million, because you've been here, or your meter.
they changed it down from the.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, because you're an older
Well, I'll use an
home.
example, my home was probably built in '86, if it's been replaced, it's only been replaced once, right? It's
Or it's
fairly-
never been replaced.
My suspicion is more it's the never, right? It looks
Yeah.
older, right?
Yeah.
But if it got replaced, it was a long time ago, so like, that's the thing is like, the newer homes in the neighborhood, unless they're really using hard, are probably relatively new, so more accurate even,
And if I could make one anecdotal statement here.
Yeah.
These guys are telling you, and you should listen to them when it comes to replace meters and for all things water operations. But I have many districts that have a lot of meters that are past what the recommended shelf life is, so it's pretty rare, Robert, I don't know of any water provider that is changing out meters every year right on schedule when they're, at the recommended time.
Yeah.
I've got one district who I think 67% of their meters are past 2 million, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's, you guys aren't, and I offer that just to let you know, this is not like, on the bad list of utility providers.
So let me ask you this, is it a supply issue on getting meters, or, we went through that a little bit too, since COVID?
We actually have a really good provider now, HydroPro off I-35
Gotcha.
in Georgetown. We have a rep who is very not fast, but very efficient and faster than the other companies on getting us meters. So I don't think the supply is an issue. I just
Only
think,
because I see the housing booming
Yeah.
right now.
It's timing and budget.
yeah,
Really what
So
you're
that's
looking
good.
for is timing and budget.
Yeah.
That's where you're at.
Okay,
We can
so,
talk about that in our meeting with you,
yeah,
Okay.
well, you guys, is that,
January coming up.
okay, Ben, do you have anything else?
that's it?
Okay, thank you very much for
Yes.
that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a
let's
Merry
go on.
Christmas and a Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas.
Happy holidays. Do we have anything for 27, Texas disposal?
Nothing?
Okay, 28, stormwater. We have a proposal from Quiddity, MS4 Phase 2 Stormwater Management Program and permit year 1.
So they can briefly introduce this, I worked with Kathy Mitchell to receive this, and so you guys have your MS4 plan, it's a 5-year plan, and so it's not time to resubmit your plan to TCQ. Usually takes them about 2 years to review and approve it, but this is for administration in year 1 and to get that in place.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Hey Ben, I'm sorry, do you guys mind taking that outside? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, did I have a second?
I second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we report from the services subcommittee? I see that there wasn't a,
Yeah, we postponed, we wanna have the discussion of the crossroads.
Gotcha.
Contract.
Okay, Sean, you're up.
In terms of directives, I reported back to you on the conversations with both Lisa and Taylor about looking at the dedicated fence funds. I don't think I have anything else there. And so nothing else to report. You should have gotten, I think everybody got an email from Christy Trahan in my office, so please reply to that and get an opportunity.
Okay, fantastic. 31, mailbox damage and repair. Boy, this has been a mess. So I kind of got a nasty email from the postmaster assistant or someone forwarding me a response that she had sent me in August, that she had never sent it to us. None of us ever received it. They're basically saying, no, they're not gonna fix the mailboxes in the district. That there's no such thing as being grandfathered in, that their policy manual says that they can't do it, and that basically, even if the mud can't do it, it's the homeowner's responsibility.
Maybe you should go door to door then.
So, well, you can't, because we're actually defined
It's
as
a community. cluster.
yeah, community cluster. So, so we really can't use district funds on this matter, so I can't really utilize Sean much. I tried to use Congressman Carter. I did file a formal complaint with the post office. I have to wait 30 days, and then after they don't really respond, then Congressman Carter can get involved, but there's not a whole lot that he can do. I did find a newsletter of a congressman down in San Antonio, and HOA was fighting it. So it's something that's going on, I know. I'm not giving up on it. I'm probably more helping as a resident than as the president or as the director of the mud board.
I just don't think that it's feasible to, you know, have our residents have to pay for these mailboxes, and I still don't even understand, because it actually is federal property, you know? So, the one thing is though, is the postmaster, who, again, didn't send me this email ever, I think she just sent it to her staff and forgot to send it to me, or Lisa, or Sean, or anyone. Actually, I'll send it to Lisa so she can share it with you all, but, they're claiming per their policy manual that they don't have to fix it. Well, I looked up their policy manual, and actually it does say, you know, they don't have to fix it. However, they can fix it if they want to, basically, but in a little bit different language. So I'm gonna continue to kind of battle it. I also did, put a thing into KXAN investigations to see, I mean, I'm just trying everything right now.
Quick question, you mentioned the community cluster with the mailbox, is that a decision only the post? I guess I'm thinking if they don't wanna pay for it, and a resident's gonna have to bear it, there's no sense in making the residents, like, I guess I'm like, if we can get that change, it makes a lot more work
Yeah.
for the post office, I'm unsympathetic.
Right, exactly. So
If everybody's
that's,
got to pay for a mailbox, why don't they just get to hang one on their door?
that's my
make a
next,
letter carrier
my
as
next
well.
step is to see how can we get our definition, how we're defined, how can we get that changed? So I'll look
Yeah,
into
better
it.
idea.
Pardon me?
We petition to go to City of Cedar, not City of Cedar, Cedar Park Post Office. Maybe it's time to see if we can do it again.
No, try to change our post
Yeah,
area.
we lost it then.
But I'm wondering if Cedar Park's gonna do the same thing to us though.
Well, we don't know.
Well, and I know
The
it's.
city is already doing it.
But let me tell you, think about this. Cedar Park doesn't have the growth
Yeah.
like Leander's having.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think the
Yeah.
cost is.
Well, but I also as much too, like, I gather that there's, I know someone, acquaintance, I see on Facebook that in Brenham, the post office there lacks the front door, like the actual building, someone backed out the front door.
Yeah, they have no funding.
And
There's
there
no
are folks
funding.
over there who are fairly well connected who are publicly like hassling Michael McCall, or Congressman McCall, about the fact there's not a front door to the building. And it's been, I think, about a month, so.
Yeah, it's a mess because the only revenue that the post office receives is from their sales. So they're, even though they're kind of part of the federal government, they don't get any actual federal funding. So, and you know, there's a lot of crime going on, so I'm sure they have to fix a lot of these boxes, but I guess I'm just trying to tell you, I'm not giving up, I'm still in contact with these people, but.
If you think it would help, I'm happy to write as well. I don't know if more complaints would do more.
Yeah, and, absolutely, and I'll send you some of the links, because I have the links of where you need to write, but it really needs to come from the people that are directly impacted by those mailboxes.
Right.
So it needs to come from people on English River Loop.
Just for my own edification, why, I don't want to necessarily spend money on it, but why can't we?
Yeah,
I just don't
I'm glad
understand.
you asked. So there is a AG opinion, I forget who requested it, it's somewhere in the neighborhood.
Celia.
Well, it's gotta come from a chairman, of the House Committee or chairman of the Senate Committee, yeah. It was specifically, I think it was on behalf of Wells Branch.
It was.
And Wells Branch asked, can we pay for a new cluster mailbox? And the response from, I forget, but it might have been Abbott AG, was no, you're not statutorily authorized to do that. And as you haven't been given that power by the state of Texas, that's not an authorized expenditure.
It's because it's federal property.
No, it's not.
Not so much, yeah, from a state power, you might just haven't been granted the authority to do that. Now,
That sounds like
that
a
might
little
be a
lobbying
second.
effort.
Well, I mean, a general, I question, even a home rule city, I have a question if they can even necessarily do it, right? Because to your point, there's allowable uses, right, public monies, and, generally you can't, in Texas, you can't buy stuff to give away without some kind of consideration. So I mean, I think even the city trying to do this would probably run into some issues, some objective of like, oh, you're giving the federal government property for free.
Right, yeah.
It's really, I
Or
really
residents.
feel for the residents,
Yeah.
especially this time of year to have to go in there. And then with the Leander, the stealing the
Mailbox,
main, yeah. So I feel for them. Okay, number 32, annual review of the drought contingency plan.
Yeah, so some of you veterans probably recognize this. For the new board members, your drought contingency plan requires that you guys review it and update it as necessary on an annual basis. In the after packet items, you will find a resolution. This was let's see, item number 32. This is just a very simple resolution, and this is what we've historically done. We update section 201, which is your water and wastewater utility system profile, just to get all of the current information in there. Denise worked with Crossroads to get all the proper numbers there that are on the second page of that. And that is all the updates that we have for this year.
Have a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thanks, guys.
Is the subcommittee's policy in here?
I see it is in the
Yeah, it is
back.
in the
I
back,
didn't
yeah.
notice it. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, somebody remind me, what was the outstanding issue last time?
I was supposed to write the new paragraph 1.
And you did?
No.
Okay.
But, I don't know, I mean, either I can do it tomorrow morning, my apologies on that.
No,
I
let's just do it in
would-
January.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Anything on code of ethics? I don't think so.
No.
Nothing. Okay, so future board meetings, the next meeting is going to be January 17th. It'll be a special meeting. It'll be specific to the Tomlinson Playscape, bond money, possible commercial loan. David Gray gave us some ideas of different ways to try to see if we can take care of this in a timely manner.
And that's a Wednesday as well.
It should be.
1 hour talk.
Yeah, 1 hour, so it's gonna be a one issue, we will have all the,
Bond council, Trent Rush.
yeah, Trent will be here, Sean will be here, David Gray.
Probably
No
want
additional items.
Taylor
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Do you want Taylor here as well, discussing?
Everybody has, the only one that won't be able to be here is Mr. Johnson.
Oh,
I'll see if I can,
Maybe dial in,
if possible, yeah,
Okay.
I will see if I can
and then make Sean wins.
adjust.
motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, guys, have a wonderful and safe holiday, enjoy your families and loved ones.